What is the best way to study as an INTP? I'm your host, C.S. Joseph, and welcome to the C.S. Joseph podcast, answering Acolyte questions from our Acolyte members who have submitted for this month. To become an Acolyte member, go to csjoseph.life/member, sign up for Journeyman, and then you will be able to sign up for Acolyte after you're already a Journeyman member, or you can go to csjoseph.life/portal and go to their locations from there, and you should be good to go. So, what is the best way to study as an INTP? I'm kind of glad that this question has been asked because this has been an area of struggle for a long time. Because honestly, INTPs really have issues when it comes to studying for school, because school is not about testing whether or not somebody is intelligent. School is actually about testing whether or not, basically people's memorization skills. That's all education is actually about. And INTPs know this. They intuitively figure this out in their education career. And then from their point of view, it's like, wow, this is a complete waste of time. This is actually stupid. Because from their perspective, it's like, what's the outcome? What is the outcome that I'm going to get for myself? What is the outcome that is, like, is this valuable? Is someone going to value this? Is someone going to want this? Or is this just me going through the motions? And INTPs often have this perspective when it comes to school that they're just going through the motions. And we've already talked about recently about how they need to, focus on becoming generalists instead of specialists. But when it comes to school, you're kind of like forced to, let go of your pragmatism and just become this drone within the school system. And that's what inhibits INTPs, and it causes them to lose all motivation to get any education done whatsoever, which can be a serious issue, a major issue over time if left unchecked. So, what do? Well, it gets even worse though. It gets worse. It gets worse because oftentimes INTPs are extremely hedonistic. It comes as a result of being in the body temple. The body temple is the quartet of types that are make up their four sides of the mind. This is the ENTJ, INTP, ESFJ, and the ISFP. They are in the body temple, and the body temple ends up having some various struggles in life. And one of the results of that would be like a form, like, the deadly sin, gluttony, basically, which is attached to the INTP. INTPs are very much gluttons and can get very hedonistic, especially when they're exposed to dopamine. And they're not even going to be able to study at all until they actually remove and fast from all sources of dopamine. And then they allow themselves to have dopamine as a reward after they've actually done the work. The thing is that show me an INTP who actually has the self-discipline to actually follow through with that process. They typically don't. And they end up becoming these amazing geniuses in life, kind of like Albert Einstein, who failed high school math because he's like, this is just stupid. And it has nothing to do with his intelligence. He just hates the school system. He hates how, in the same way that Elon Musk, actually, who is another INTP, rags on the school system and talks about how much public schooling and also university is an absolute waste of time. Because let's be honest, folks, education really only needs to teach you reading, writing, arithmetic, and then history. Other than that, there's really not very much else that education has any real value to give you as a person anyway. Except, obviously, critical race theory, right? And the feminine primary social order and all those brainwashing and conditioning in terms of any affiliative school situation, because we're woke and we're going to progress our race to the next level, even though they're completely destroying society everywhere. INTPs often get frustrated, females or male INTPs get frustrated with how the fact that schools right now are inhibiting women from being feminine, and they are inhibiting men from being masculine. They're telling the women to be masculine, and they're telling the men to be feminine. And this is going to fail. It's actually going to cause the absolute utter collapse of society because, for example, women are stuck in their animus and and it's because they're not even being socially accepted as people in society for being feminine. So if a girl is being a feminine woman, she's ultimately just, well, she's shat on, basically, which really sucks. It really, really sucks. So, but how can INTP get through this cultural phenomenon when they're trying to work on their education, or at least maybe they're being forced to work on their education? Really, it comes down to eliminating as many distractions as possible, getting away from everybody. You need to have absolute total introversion, but you need to make sure that you're in an area where you don't actually have any creature comforts at all. And if that means you just got to sit at a table bored with absolutely nothing to do, then that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to starve yourself of dopamine, basically, so that you can actually find your motivation. Because what dopamine does, it gets into the SI inferior or the SI child, but it really inhibits NI critic from actually coming out. It's like an NI critic blocker, basically, is dopamine for INTPs, and that's because of their gluttony, deadly sin. We'll be talking a lot more about the deadly sins in the future, especially when we're about to release the CSJ version of the Enneagram, which will be coming out very soon. Myself and Chris Taylor have been working on it together, and what we've come up with is pretty fantastic. We're still going to have to focus a little bit of time on how we're going to test people appropriately, but for the most part, I'm very happy with what we have coming for everyone within this audience. So yeah, honestly, you need to be alone as an INTP. You need to remove all sources of dopamine and any distractions. And the only thing that could actually capture your attention is the study work itself. And you have literally nothing else. Even listening to music could actually be a bad thing. While it may help an ENTP to listen to music while they're getting some studying done, and they can actually derive some kind of emotion or motivation from it with NI nemesis and FE child, an INTP can't, and it ends up with just being this thing that provides, again, more dopamine for the SI child, and the music itself can become an insane distraction. Literally, just the wise thing an INTP could do is just remove all other choices so that the only choice in front of them through process elimination is the study work itself. But getting the INTP to actually have the self-discipline to do that, that's really hard. So if you're a parent of an INTP, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to, if you're going to make them study in the room, take every object out of the room so it's completely bare, and all they can have is just sitting on a box with just like a blank table and pens and papers and their work, and that's it. Or create a study area like that and make it so that they cannot leave that study area until they're finished. That's really your only choice. Otherwise, if there's any sources of dopamine around them, they'll just get lost in the dopamine, because any kind of dopamine fix, because INTPs, let's be honest, are the most addictive of all of the 16 types, with the exception of maybe INFPs, but really INTP is the absolute most addictive of all the 16 types, especially since they are in the body temple. They have the deadly sin of gluttony, and they're extremely hedonistic people until they end up having self-discipline. It can be a problem. So just keep that in mind, folks. This is kind of what's required to get an INTP to study, but it's not like they're going to like it. It's not like they're ever going to care about it. It's not like they're ever going to want to do it anyway. It's really just comes down to they need to learn how to force themselves, or other people need to learn how to force them, and get them away from dopamine, because dopamine will just end up becoming an attention distraction. But if you remove the dopamine and remove all other distractions so that their SI child attention can only be on the work and nothing else, then you will basically get them to study, but only after all of that has been done. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.